Hey everybody!
Woo!
Welcome back to the Way Creative Podcast, where we help creatives point people to the way, the truth, and the life in Jesus Christ through their creativity. I'm your host, Jena Loses, and this is my co-host, Ayana Wolf.
Hi everybody!
Yes! Today, oh my gosh, okay. I'm so excited for this episode. You have no idea how excited I am for this episode. When Ayana came up with the title for this episode, I flipped out.
Yeah,
Flipped out.
I was like, man, I just think we need to talk about the power of storytelling.
Yes, which is my Roman Empire.
Yeah, that's hers. Mine is the Muppets, but...
Yeah. No, I think about the power of storytelling like every single day.
Yes, and I called Jen up, I'm like, listen, I think we need to talk about the power of storytelling because she's an amazing writer. Like, you're just amazing at writing and all the stories and stuff that you've written, that you've shown me and stuff, and like that's definitely your wheelhouse. Is that what they say?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would think so.
Yeah, all right. You're good with the words. I'm not, but
hey, that's a lie. She's good.
I'm just saying you're an amazing storyteller, and so there's just conversations we've had personally that I've always thought like has just blown my mind of different things that you've brought up about storytelling, and I'm like, wait, that's kind of like changed my mind on things, or like how my view on things when it comes to storytelling and what I do or don't allow, or just made me really aware. And so I think you have a lot to bring to the table when it comes to that. And I was like, girl, you gotta share that with the world.
The pressure. No, I will talk your ear off about this all day. If we go into a part 2, this is why. Because I think that especially as creatives, the power that we have with storytelling is so incredible, and it makes me so excited because as a storyteller, as somebody who loves to storytell through music, through like books and coming up with ideas for movies and television shows, it's so exciting to me because God takes our creativity and he leverages it so powerfully in our day and age today. And so I wanted to start off today with a quote. I heard this while listening to a book by Dekker, but he referenced this. This is actually a quote by Eugene Peterson, the author of The Message, and it's beautiful in my opinion. But he said, words amputated from stories lose accuracy, lose color and energy, and congeal into God talk. They are flowers that fade and grow limp. For every theologian, we need 5 novelists to keep the language personally relational. For every biblical scholar, we need another 5 novelists to keep the language participatory. For every church historian, the church needs another 5 novelists to keep us aware that we are in the story. When I first heard that quote, I'm like, oh my word. Like, this is why stories matter. Stories are so powerful. Like,
for real.
It's beautiful because they don't just help us contextualize truth, but they really reflect a culture. They really reflect our values and what matters to us, and it takes those core things and expresses them through how a character lives their life, or how, if you want to talk about it in music terms, every single song is going to be written from a place of perceived truth. And so everything that we do creatively is, in essence, tells a story. Mm-hmm. And so there is extreme power in that, and I'm obsessed with it. I'm so excited about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's dial it back a little bit. Let's start from the very beginning. So we are storytellers because we have the original storyteller, and the original storyteller is God. He wrote your story, he wrote my story, he wrote the story of the world, the lives that we're living now. But in Jesus's time, well, Jesus being Jesus, he taught in parables all the time. He knew how effective stories were.
Yeah, for real. Like, he had a lot of truth to communicate and in kingdom principles, and they were like otherworldly. I mean, it's kingdom principles, stories of heaven and truth that at the time, like, no one had heard any of those things. And so Jesus had to find a way to communicate kingdom principles in a way that could be broken down to people with hard hearts, or whatever he was working with.
Very little understanding at times too.
Yeah, and something too, like if you look at a lot of his parables, he talks a lot about like farmers. Well, a lot of people were farmers at the time. So it was him being able to portray a truth in a story that they could relate to and see themselves in. And that way it'd make it easier for them to understand what he was talking about.
Exactly. He pulled in the understanding of the culture and the people he was speaking to, and he was able to then communicate the revelation of the gospel, the revelation of the kingdom to the people exactly where they were at.
Yeah. When we were doing research, so, okay, the Message translation, you know, it's a little ghetto, but...
I've seen a T-bone steak in there every now and then. That was wild.
Ooh, juicy.
Just that steak.
Sometimes it's like, if I really don't understand a passage, like if I've read, you know, I mean, I like to study like New King James. Like I think it's, and then it's like, if I really don't understand.
Admirable.
Right. When I don't understand what's going on there, I'm like, okay, New Living Translation. And then if I really am lost and I'm like, someone needs to tell me this, like
I'm searching for the answers and I don't know where it is.
Like if I'm so lost, I'm like, all right, that's it, Message translation. Like, just tell me straight up.
Yep.
And so when we were like looking at the parables and stuff, I was just messing around. I'm like, let me see what the Message translation has to say. And I really loved how this was said in Matthew 13, in like verses like 10 through 15. The disciples come and they ask Jesus, they say, why do you tell stories? Mm-hmm. And he said, you've been given insight into God's kingdom. You know how it works. Not everybody has this gift, this insight. It hasn't been given to them. Whenever someone has a ready heart for this, the insights and understandings flow freely. But if there is no readiness, any trace of receptivity soon disappears. And then he says, that's why I tell stories, to create readiness, to nudge the people toward a welcome awakening. That's it.
That's literally it.
I was like, okay, Message translation. Yep. All right. You get points. You get points.
Coming in clutch.
It's so good. But that right there, like he's talking about the condition of people's hearts. And even then, he was telling the disciples that they had the gift of like having insight into God's kingdom. And even they still missed it.
Yeah.
A lot.
He explained a lot of his parables to his disciples.
Yeah.
But they had open hearts. Mm-hmm. They were coming to Jesus. They were hungry for the truth. And they were consistently following after him. They were his disciples for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. But yeah, Jesus just really portrayed the power of using storytelling. Like, you know, again, to take big concepts instead of just saying straight up, all right, this is what I want you guys to learn. Mm-hmm. He gave them practical, stories about farmers or whatever that looked like, or a man in a field, or again, whatever he could that would translate, like we were saying, culturally. Just he didn't give them just some like modern day story. He's like, he took something from their present time and was like, hey, I can make this more relatable to them. And again, they can see themselves in these stories, and maybe that will go past a filter to get straight to their heart. Because, Jesus could have just walked in and gone, yeah, you're wrong for this, you're wrong for that, blah, 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 blah. And sometimes he did. Mm-hmm. Well deserved. He flipped them tables. He didn't give him a parable before he flipped the table. Because sometimes you just need to flip the table. But like, especially when he's speaking to sinners, right? Like people who don't already know the revelations of Jesus, like he was able to communicate it in a way that could get past just like the wall of defense and, be like, hey, this is a relatable story for you. And then they're able to take that truth and apply it if their heart, was softened to that. But it's really powerful.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really beautiful because when you tell a story, you are contextualizing it for somebody, because we can often hear the truth in the word. We can hear the things that Jesus tells us in the word. But then if we don't know how to practically live that out, if we don't understand, oh wait, how do I have patience? What is it like to actually live generously? And you see all these incredible stories in the word that are those things for us, that do give us those examples. But when you have something that you can relate with, that you can tangibly see and say, wow, okay, this is how this person has took this truth and walked it out. That's what that means. Mm-hmm. Because outside of stories, these things don't really have a place to live, because our lives are stories and God has called us to walk in these revelational truths. And so it's really, that's where truth lives, is within story. And so I just love that he taught that way, and that we can also then use the stories that we tell to teach that way as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love it because we were called to be salt and light. We were called to be a city on a hill. We were called to be, as believers, we were called to live lives that would draw people into desiring to walk with Jesus, to live like him, and to have a relationship with him. And when we tell stories that ignite that heart for him, it's what it said here in the Message translation. That's why I tell stories, to create readiness, to nudge the people towards a welcome awakening. That's what we're here for. Right here, right now, in this time, in this place, you've been given a gift as a creative to awaken revival in this nation for Jesus, in this world, not just in our nation, but the entire world. We're here for such a time as this. God is going to give us stories for such a time as this. And I could go on. But
well, the last thing I want to say about that is, especially in the world that we're living in today, what I saw reflected here was making a connection to then give truth to people. Again, it wasn't parading, you guys are all this and that and whatever. Like, and I think we need that more than ever. Like, as a really divided nation, and just like, you know, just a lot of conflict going on, and we have a lot of people yelling from both sides. And I'm like, y'all, it's not effective. But if you actually make that connection to get to someone's heart and allow them to see truth and receive truth, again, through the power of a story, is one of the ways that we can connect with people, for them to, again, receive that truth. Now, if I say, Jena, you're a sinner, you're doing this, and you don't know me, and you don't have a connection, there's no previous connection. Bro. Right, like, then like, why would you respect anything that I have to say? Yeah. Why would you care what I'm telling you is true or not? We don't have a connection. But if I were to come to you with a story, and it really touched your heart, I'm able to get through this wall of defense and find a connection, and then have you receive truth through it. So that's just the way I see that reflected in today, like in our culture today. I think more than ever, we need that element of connection. Yeah. Which we can funnel truth through that. Truth in love.
100%. All in love. And like, here's the thing, is that whenever we have any kind of dialogue with anything in the world, anything, it could be a story, it could be a song, it could be a conversation, whatever it is, when we interact with the world, we do so through a filter. We're going to be seeing things and experiencing through our filter of perceived reality, our morals and values, our past experiences. All these certain things will make up the way that we see the world. And whenever we hear a story, we're going to see that through a filter. Then when you have a fictional story, it's really cool because hopefully you've taken that story and you've crafted it. This is the way I would hope that it would come across. But you take a story and you craft it in such a way that somebody with a Hindu background would understand. But then it's fictional. And so the cool thing about fiction is that it invites you, by the whole meaning of fiction, to say, okay, I'm going to lay down my current perception of reality. I'm going to surrender that to temporarily accept that the way that the author says that the world runs, that everything, the world goes around in this sort of way, and the sky is purple, and people eat the craziest, weirdest things, and that's how they survive. Like, that's true for this world. But if they love the story, they're willing to sacrifice their values to be entertained. And that is a huge thing. Guys, this happens every single day. This happens in the world where Christians, I compromised my values when I was younger to read stories that were really well written. They were great. But the values and the things that they were talking about they weren't good. It was not what the word would be teaching. It's not what Jesus would have me reading. But hey, like, we watch, there's shows on television all the time where you see things being talked about that are just not, it's not good for us.
Yeah.
But we're willing to compromise our values because we love the story. We're being entertained. And that's why we're willing to open up and watch what we're watching, to read what we're reading, to listen to what we're listening to, because, oh, that song is just so good. It sounds so cool. I know the words are kind of crappy, but it just sounds amazing.
Yeah. And we see consistently, like in the examples you're using just now, how the world does use that. Like, sometimes intentionally, sometimes not. Like, again, there's like a quote, or it's just a phrase that I hear thrown around a lot, of just that everything worships something.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing to me, because, again, people don't, like, the world sometimes doesn't understand what they're doing or conveying. Like, you know, like, we're so quick to be like, wow, they're so evil because they're doing this. And I'm like, well, they're just being the world. They're blind.
Yeah.
They're doing these things, but because they're in the world, they are producing things of the world. That is their fruit. And so we are constantly in our culture surrounded by the fruit of the world and the truths that they believe in, and putting into their music, into their film, into their books.
Yeah.
And so we can see how that's used in a negative way, and how when we accept those things and, like you said, just compromise our own values just because we like the film or whatever it is, whatever outlet it is, we can understand that the reverse is true as well, that we also carry the same power.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to that quote or phrase of everything worships something, like, again, if you were to talk to someone in the world and be like, do you know that you're worshiping Satan? Like, with that, they'd probably be like, some might answer yes. But majority might answer no, because they don't realize, again, what holds your attention, what you're placing your trust in, all these things, is what you are worshiping.
Yeah.
Like, especially in music, like, we have worship music, and that, like, is extremely powerful, but songs without worshiping God are worshiping something else. They're worshiping sex, they're worshiping drugs, they're worshiping worldly values, they're worshiping that bear.
Yeah, and not to say that if something isn't labeled worship music that it's not worshiping God, but it's the value, it's the driving force behind it. When we create something, what is the truth that we're communicating? Are we communicating that we're going to sex for life, that we're going to a relationship for our identity, that we're going to money for our security, or that we are resting on God, that we are trusting in Jesus, that He is our life, and that everything comes from seeking the kingdom?
Yeah.
All the rest will be added. That is, it flows into everything.
Yeah, and
everything.
Yeah, and another way to put it is everything either produces death or life.
Yes.
Like, that is where it is, like, that black and white of, like, okay, it's in one of these categories. Yeah. Like, if it's not producing life, it's producing death. Like, what are these films? Like, what is that TV show? How is it affecting you at the end of the day? Like, how is it making you feel about yourself or feel about the world? Or, again, how is it shaping your perception of the world? And you don't even know it. You won't even realize it until you're further down the road, and you're like, oh, wow, I really allowed this truth to seep in because I liked this show and I loved this actor, or I really love the sound of that song, right? And so it's, we don't really know until we're too far down the road. But again, there's two roads.
No, 100%. And honestly, like, that's where it becomes, like, so powerful, because we don't understand oftentimes just the power that our stories carry, because everything does communicate truth, whether we like it or not. And so when we create, we as believers, we have the same opportunity that everybody else in the world does. That when they are creating things, they are creating from their standpoint and their worldview. We get to create from ours, which is absolutely wonderful. And this is great, because personally, I mean, I've watched it get a lot better through the years, but I feel like our Christian creative industries have been very cheesy, and I hate it.
Unfortunately.
Because we have in our hands, we're linked to the Creator, and yet our creativity is so tied up in in so many limitations. But what would happen if we as creatives started creating stories that would really draw people into really desiring a relationship with Jesus? What would that look like? What kind of stories would those be? Because you create them in such a way that shows them, hey, this is what life can be like when you walk with Jesus. And oh my gosh, I want those stories. As a believer, I need those stories, because if I don't have testimonies, if I don't have stories in front of me that show me, hey, this is an example of what life can be like when you walk with Jesus. This is an example of somebody who stepped out in faith, had no idea how long it might take to receive the promises of God, and when they actually received them, it was worth it. Oh my gosh, we need so many more stories like that. We need so many.
Yeah.
But it changes us when we listen to music, when we watch TV, when we hear these stories. It could be even something as simple as a couple seconds of a reel or something on TikTok. What we're consuming matters. And we've talked about that a bit before in some of the other episodes, but it does have such an impact, because when we tell stories, it invites us to lay down that filter, to imagine something that we've never contextualized before. So when we're talking about Revelation, we're talking about the gospel, for somebody who doesn't understand that, it's never truly received that in their heart yet, the opportunity to invite them to lay their filter down, to then imagine what life could be like walking with Jesus, even if it's not even said with those words, is so powerful.
Yeah.
So powerful.
Yeah, for sure. If we take a step back and realize, okay, what truths have I personally accepted through film, positive or negative, right? And I also feel like this is a reason that representation does matter, because when we're able to see, I was like, oh, I can put myself in those shoes. Like in that character, like as a teenager and as like, when I was younger, I loved watching like, fantasy shows and stuff. And I would see like, the warrior princess, and I was like, yes, like
that's me.
Right. And I was able to envision myself and put myself there. But I think that's why it just like, when it comes to representation, as in allowing our stories to come from different and unique places that share those truths. And so that, like you were talking about, someone with a Hindu background or whatever, like whatever culture it is, that they're able to actually see themselves in it.
Yeah, craft it with your audience in mind. 100%, so they can actually receive it. They can relate to it. Yeah,
we can't have everything just be in one mold and be like, well, this is what Christianity looks like. And it's like, well, if you're trying, who are you trying to reach? Are you trying to reach the people already saved? Just, you got to figure out, because that's not always a problem. Yeah. Like if you are called to set revival and the people who are Christians.
We need that.
Right. I mean, what are we doing right now?
Please.
Like that is needed. But on the other side of things, if you are trying to reach the lost, you kind of have to look at what's in your hands and go, okay, how am I playing these cards to actually reach the lost? Am I just trying to make content that will just reach the already churchgoer person and reach them culturally? Yeah. Or am I inviting people into these spaces that wouldn't have this background or wouldn't feel like they had to have all put together, or like they're like, oh, I don't fit that mold. I don't look like that. I don't see myself in that.
It really is just knowing your audience.
Right. So it's not saying to compromise your own values to make something be like, well, the world likes to party, so I'm going to go get drunk. No,
no, not at all.
I'm not saying that, because some people, that's how they feel. They're like, well, it's like, no, we need to go in the world. Like there's certain angles in our own personal filters and our own unique interests that we all carry that are unique places that we can speak into.
Yeah.
So for instance, I love musical theater.
She does.
It's a very...
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I know more about musicals now in my life than I ever have because of her.
Right. 10 minutes of Broadway, jazz hands. But basically, I can acknowledge that the musical theater community is very worldly. And I have to personally find that boundary within myself to say, okay, what am I allowing and what should I not allow? Because there's obviously things that are not great, you know, like there's crazy musicals out there. But I do genuinely believe that the Lord has given me that, because it's not, because if I were to just throw it out completely because I'm like, well, it's so worldly, you know, like I just need to get it out, whatever, and just go to church, and what I still do that, but but I'm seeing that actually I know I have a lot of knowledge in the theater community. I know what's going on there. I know the names of actors. I know I'm a nerd, okay? But because I have that angle, I'm able to actually reach the lost there, because there's a lot of hurting lost people in the theater community.
Yeah.
But guess what? I can come and I can present stories that I know that they would find interesting, because I find it interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm not creating it out of, you know, I might have it might affect my songwriting style, right? I might make melodies that are more theatrical and that would reach those certain audiences. It's not because I thought, well, I know the world likes this sound, so I'm going to make that sound. No, it's genuinely a sound that I love. But if I make it a sound that I love that might not sound like the typical mold, you know, because I genuinely am passionate about it and I love it, that's the angle that the Lord has given me, so I can actually get past the filter for people lost in those communities to actually, their ears perk up and be like, wait, actually, I like that too. And then they're receiving the truth of Christ through that. And they might not even understand that right away, right? It's just the same way that we might compromise our values on this side of things, on the worldly side of things, of, well, I really like that and I'm allowing that to come in my life. Again, the opposite can be true. Now, if I end up making stuff that has the truth of Jesus' love in it, or whatever the gospel message in it, but it has a sound that actually might reach those unique outlets, those unique, people, unique communities, then that's like my way in. Into those communities, into those places, into the world, so that they can receive Christ. And it wasn't me coming to them and going, hey, you need to go to church. But I'm actually giving them something that's going past their walls of defense, going through something that they actually relate to and they like. And then, little do they know, their hearts are being softened to the word of Christ.
It's beautiful. It really is beautiful, because that's really the essence of connection and relationship. When we actually build relationship with people and we're able to connect with them, and it's more than just let me shove a belief on you. It's let me understand how your mind works, how your heart works, what you desire, what you're burning for. Because at the end of the day, what we desire and what we need comes from Jesus. And all the different places that we go for it, that's going to lead us into death. Like when I go to a relationship and try to find my worth and value in there, and then all I find is just heartbreak and disappointment, because a person wasn't supposed to hold that. Jesus is. And so there are so many different things that people are desiring, that people want and they're looking for, but they don't know where to find it. And we as a culture in our world today have so many preconceptions of who Jesus is, what he's supposed to look like, and a lot of negative conceptions at the same time. Because my personal belief is that we as believers, we definitely need to do a better job of reflecting Jesus. And it says in the word that we will be known by our love. And are Christians known by our love? And so our stories that we tell, it's an opportunity to really connect relationally with people too, and to really step into their shoes and understand, okay, what do you desire? What do you need? And it really craft something to serve them, because that's what we're doing through our stories. We're serving people. It's more than just, oh, I want to make a movie. I want to make a TV show, or I want to write a book, or I want to make an album. There's purpose behind it. And we can make fun things that we enjoy, that we love. Like, our creativity is so much more than like really serious things. But to understand that we have that capability and that we have the ability to do that through our creativity is so beautiful. And it's just, it's lovely.
Yeah.
It's really lovely.
Mm-hmm.
I just love it.
We love stories.
Yeah.
But again, just the understanding that regardless of what you're creating, again, it doesn't have to be super mission driven. Like, for instance, one of my favorite Christian artists is Owl City.
Oh, yeah.
And
you would not believe it. I can't make it.
Oh, copyright.
We're going to get copyrighted. I lost my glasses.
Well, she lost in the copyright battle. That's crazy. Oh. Who is that? Oh, no, we can't. But I think he just does a really great job of creating wholesome, innocent music.
Yeah.
And he writes story, like he's a massive storyteller, and he'll be telling stories about dinosaurs coming to life at night.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Is he like sitting there talking about the gospel the whole time? No. But guess what? He's able to reach a community of people that aren't Christians, and then he'll release a song that is very evidently talking about Jesus.
Sons of Thunder.
Oh, it's good.
Fire.
Now the real one's no kamikaze.
Ooh.
So, anyway.
Check out our Owl City playlist.
I've been a fan for a very long time.
Link in the description. Actually not. Don't look for it. It's not there.
Now, out of me, if you watch, I'm just kidding.
If we get 12 likes.
Milestone!
Y'all better like the video.
But at the end of the day, regardless of how innocent the song you're making or random or whatever, because I like to write silly things too. It's like, it doesn't have to be, everything has to be this, that, like just whatever. Mm-hmm. But we also just need the innocent, fun, lighthearted songs, right? Like that, again, Owl City does a really good job of that. He just creates that where he's able to pull people into this place and they're not compromising values or anything like that. But at the end of the day, whatever you're creating, whether it be like straight up, this is the gospel message in the song, or this film, or this book, that regardless of what the story is, that story is communicating a truth and it's leading to life or death. And if we just have that awareness whenever we are creating and going, okay, I'm going to take a step back. What is this communicating? What am I putting out there? Is this something that is bringing life to people, or is it bringing death?
Yeah.
And just having that awareness. I think that's where it starts.
Yeah. No, there's something, I was having a conversation with my mom. And it was cool because as we were talking, I got like really inspired. It was funny because we were talking about this and I told her, I'm like, we're going to do an episode on this. And I'm telling you, every single time I talk about this, it's like the octave gets higher and higher and higher every time because I'm getting more worked up and more worked up.
Mariah Carey?
Key change. But I was so excited. And one of the things that I ended up writing down from that conversation, I had to write it down verbatim because I just love how it came across. But basically, stories are powerful because we can set an atmosphere in the story that invites the reader to consider the word true as a fundamental part of how the world operates. It gets us to use our imagination and picture it, view it in context. This is powerful because how often do we do this in our lives? How often do we entertain faithless alternatives? We do this all the time. But when we have stories that help people imagine what it's like to walk with Jesus, and sometimes that's hard. Well, a lot of times it's hard. But when we help them understand that true value comes from Jesus and show them that in the context of a story, there's so much to be gained in that, because half the time we can't receive because we don't even know how to picture it. We don't even know how to understand how it could have happened in our own lives, that Jesus could be a provider, that Jesus could be, could help us be content in seasons where we don't necessarily have everything that we want yet.
Yeah.
There's so many things that he gives us, and having stories to create that atmosphere to consider the word true, it's unmatched.
Yeah.
I know personally from my own life, just how that has helped me. Like, one of my favorite authors, his name's Dekker. Eventually, we will talk more about him because I love his books. I've not read all of them. I've heard there are some weird ones out there. So don't
What?
I don't know. I've heard some just random things. But I love a lot of the books that I've read by him. And one of the reasons why I love his books is because he takes so many revelations in the Word and he brings them to life in story, which I am obsessed with. I really can't I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, he makes you see things in like just different worlds, and just the way he'll take these truths and he'll put it in this fictional world where, again, different realities are happening, and then you're able to really see, just even as a believer, it's like, oh, I've always known this scripture. Like, a common theme that I see in a lot of his books is he refers a lot to perfect love casts out fear, which I love. But he's able to take, oh yes.
I need that so much.
Praise the
Every
Lord.
day of my life.
Yeah. But it's really powerful because he's given me imagery to add to that scripture.
Yeah.
Like painting a picture or giving me a face to look at, or again, the kind of a different realm way of describing that truth, where I'm able to picture the spiritual battles, right? Like there's certain things that, again, we just say for, we read the scripture and it's still effective, obviously, but now it's like, it gives me that way to picture it, or like put it into practice and have something that's painted for me, so that when I think about it, it's more alive to me. It becomes alive.
It really does bring it to life. That's really what happened to me. Like, it was around last year. I think it was last year. Last year, I was going through just a lot of changes in my life, and like changes with work, changes with my finances. I went from working 2 jobs to 1. I had to move. I had to change my car. I had to do a lot of different things, and there were a lot of things up in the air that I couldn't control. And if you've ever been in that kind of scenario, it's stressful. It can be a lot of weight on your shoulders if you don't know how to handle it well and to give it to God and to trust Him as your provider. And what was really instrumental for me in that time was reading one of Ted Dekker's books called 80/30. And it's a historical fiction, basically set in the time of Jesus. And I loved it because it was from a perspective of an Arab woman. And he wrote it specifically from the perspective of this kind of character, because in modern day, none of us, unless you are a very, I think that there's very, very few people that could say that they fully understand the culture that Jesus lived in back in that day. But to all of us in modern day, a lot of us are outsiders to the culture and the understandings and the way that Jesus operated in that time. And so to walk her through the mindset that Jesus had and the way that he taught and the way that he lived is oftentimes the journey that all of us have to take with him, because we're all learning a whole new world when we walk with Jesus. It's completely upside down than what we're typically used to.
Yeah.
And so he takes this character on this journey through this book, and it's in 80/30, so we've not reached the point of the crucifixion yet, but specifically in the time of the story, this character has her own like battles and the things that's going on in her life, but she has things that she needs to learn. And one of the things that really stuck with me in that season of my life was when there was a specific scene where it talks about it's the one where Jesus calms the storm. And the main character, she's in a different boat, but they think that they're gonna die. And she's like with, eventually he's the martyr, Stephen, but Stephen is the character in the story as well. And he's explaining to the main character all these different things about the way of Yeshua. And so he's talking about, like, they're in the middle of the storm, and this storm is crazy. Like, they all think that they're gonna die. And then all of a sudden the storm quiets. And then they look off, and then they see Jesus in the boat with all the other disciples, and they're all like, hey, we'll like catch you on the other side, sort of thing. But the way that Stephen explained it to, I think her name's Mavea? I could be wrong. The main character, the way he explains it to the main character is he talked about how she was afraid of the storm. She was afraid of the storm's power over her. She was afraid that the storm would have the power to take her life in that moment, that they were going to die. And meanwhile, Stephen's out there having the time of his life. Like, he's a little crazy. He's like, woo! Like, but at the end of the day, he reframes it for her and says, truly, God is the one in control. He is the one with all authority. And so when we put our trust in him to take care of us as he sees fit, but then also within that context is his great, great love for us that is so great that we could possibly never even fathom it.
Right.
So this is not this selfish God who doesn't care for you. It's a father, the way the father cares for their daughter, for their son, a perfect parent, not the jacked up, crazy examples that some of us have. But at the end of the day, trusting that God is the one that is controlling our fate, not the storm. The storm doesn't have power. And there's this line, I don't think that it came from there, but it was inspired by that story. We started to write a song, and one of the lines was, I don't have to fear the storm, for my fate is in the hands of the Lord. Because it's recognizing where the authority is. And when I was walking through that season of life, when I didn't know where my next, I didn't know how my finances were going to pan out, if I was going to need to go get a whole different job, if I was going to need to go get another job, and I didn't want to get 2 jobs, and all these things were happening. But I could have been under the weight of so much stress and worry in that time. But because this story impacted me so much, and I knew that it was true, I knew that what he was talking about in the story was based on the word, was true, was carrying the word in it. I trusted it. I'm like, okay, I can actually, just like she learned how to live and not be afraid because she learned to trust the authority of Jesus, because she learned to trust Yeshua in ways that she had never thought possible, I can do the same. And so it was an encouragement to me in that time. And I walked through that season really in so much peace because I'd read that book.
Yeah.
And it showed me the power that stories have. And it changed me.
Yeah.
And it put a desire in my heart personally, because my heart and desire, especially through the Way Creative, is that we eventually down the line create stories that would do that for other people, that would really help them to walk in the ways that Jesus has for us. That's why it's called the Way Creative, so that we can actually help people through the stories that we tell step into the life that God has for us, step into the fullness of all of his promises, and to see it contextualized for them so that they can walk into that. And that's what Ted Dekker's books did for me. And there's other books that he's written that have completely changed my life. And that's a whole other deep dive there. But just an example of that changed things for me, especially in that time. And I'm forever grateful for that.
Yeah, like I said, it makes the word come alive. Just because you're seeing more examples, or it's opening your mind up even to, with that specific example, like culturally, what was happening around that time. And then you just get more context of what that time looked like. And then it's kind of just, even when you're reading the Bible and you're thinking of these stories that you've, read alongside that, and you're like, oh, I have more of an understanding of what's going on here. I have more of a context to pull from, and it helps me receive these truths better because I had stories that helped me picture that or imagine that, and it came alive to me. And you love to read, and like that's the way truths just really impact you. And for me, it's on the music side of like, words are never more alive to me. Like stories are never more alive to me than when it's in melody. And that's probably why I love musical theater so much, because communicating stories through melody, I'm just like, whoa, I received that right into my heart.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is through either film, books, TV shows, and music, like, I mean, there's all creative outlets that different ones can affect other people more deeply. And that's just powerful ways that the truth can be connected to other people. And that, again, if someone likes music more, or reading books, again, this is why it's so important that we're using our creative outlets to communicate those truths, so the word comes alive through those volumes.
There's something I've been learning lately with that, and it's been in part because of a lot of the different authors that I've been reading recently, and I'm grateful for it because I've learned that there's a difference in how we teach here in America versus how they teach in other different parts of the world. And specifically, with the Eastern mindset of teaching and learning versus the Western mindset of teaching and learning, there's a lot of differences. And here in America, we are like, here's the facts, okay, memorize it, understand it, now take the test. If you've memorized it and you can regurgitate it, then you're good.
Right. Did we really learn anything in school, guys? How did that American learning Right. How did the American learning system go for you, huh?
Yeah,
right? Did we learn something?
I don't know.
I mean, I got good grades in the astronomy class, but I don't remember. It didn't mean nothing to me. I memorized the cards.
Yeah.
Like you said, I threw it up, and then it was...
That's what it is, though, is that in Western culture, we oftentimes will focus on making people aware of truth, but then we have a deficiency in our experience of it. Mm-hmm. So the Eastern mindset and the way that a lot of the Eastern cultures will approach teaching and learning is through discovery process. So that often happens by asking questions. They'll take a pupil and then they will pull them aside and they will ask them questions that will make them think and question all these different concepts that they thought they maybe understood, but then they realize, wait, I didn't think of that before. Wait, what could this mean if what you're saying is true? Like they just bring you along this line of discovering the answer through questions, through a journey that you take. And instead of being told what the answer is, you experience it. You experience the answer and you discover it along the way. And then instead of just being told, hey, God is your provider, it is being asked questions and walking through the scenarios of, okay, so if God is your provider, what does it mean when he asks you to give the last $1,000 in your bank account and your rent's due tomorrow? Mm-hmm. Like, how do you contextualize?
She found
Say it with me now. Contextualize. How do you contextualize that?
Welcome back to our spelling bee class. I'm just kidding.
Oh Lordy. Oh Lord, oh Lord. But it's really then challenging those things and then bringing you to a deeper understanding. Because if we aren't willing to ask questions in our faith, I was so afraid to ask questions about my faith for the longest time. And because of that barrier, I never grew. But then once I learned that it was okay to question my faith and to actually say, well, then what does it look like when my friend backstabs me and says a lot of hurtful things to me? How am I supposed to forgive them? What does that look like? How Jesus, help me figure this out. Yeah. And so we all have questions that need to be answered. And so might as well let your character in the story ask them. Yeah. Might as well, that's what stories did for me, is that they started asking the questions that I was asking in my heart. Yeah. And so
I guess with just creativity, just in general, because when you put it like that, I was like, that's really good. Because like you're saying, in the context of stories, when you're telling a story, all you are doing is asking questions of, well, what if it's this? Mm-hmm. What if these truths existed in this kind of reality, in this world, with this character facing these challenges? And it really does open up you to those realities and those possibilities. And so religion wants to tell you that you can't ask questions, and it puts you in this place, in this non-relationship place. It's a religion aspect of it. Don't ask questions, just
follow the formula.
Right. And it's, why do we believe what we believe? Don't say that. You believe it just because it's true. Well, why is it true? Mm-hmm. That's what religion wants us to do, and that structure fails every time. Mm-hmm. But it's that relational aspect where you do find that communicated in stories, where you are in any creative outlet. The glass ceiling doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. Any possibility can happen, but with the basis still of those truths. It can fly freely. Any possibility can happen with this foundation of these truths. So I think that's really powerful that you made that connection. I was like, oh wait, that's so cool. The opposite of that is religion of don't ask questions. But in creativity, it is ask every question.
Yeah.
Ask every question. That is what it is.
Mm-hmm. No, that's what I really began to fall in love with the way that they taught through discovery. Because, just by reading the books that I've been reading with, that have been just formulated that way, it's really actually taking me so much deeper than even some of the books that I've read that are incredible Christian books that have poured so much into me. I receive it and I'm like, thank you, Jesus. I take so many notes and I'm like, oh, this is amazing. And then I go about my life. But it's the ones that ask me questions that cause me to truly walk into transformation. And so when we are looking at the being told versus being able to discover, the effectiveness is really showing on this side. And not to say that we can't learn this other way. I think that it's just that when you have an experience first, the being made aware of the truth has so much more of a foundation.
And that's how our relationship with God is.
Yeah.
He allows us to discover the truths because he doesn't give us all the answers. Now imagine if God always just gave us, if we asked him a question like, God, when am I getting married? When am I doing this? When am I doing that? Blah, da, 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 da. And like that aspect of faith, but like where he wants those things to be discovered so that you actually build that muscle. God could tell you what you're dying to know, but it could mean nothing because you didn't build, you didn't find it for yourself. You didn't find it through your own story, right? Like you didn't discover it yourself, so it means less. Because now if you, again, communicating truth, if you just give me the truth and I didn't discover it myself, how it loses its a level of effectiveness. And so, again, look at the way that God communicates truth to us or our relationship with him. He's all about discovery. He's all about the journey. He's all about the adventure.
The process.
The process.
We need the process. But that's not to say that everything that we, like, there's a phrase that everybody likes to use, and it's like, go live your truth. It's like, actually, no, it's not your truth. It's the truth. And so I do want to point that out. Like God invites us to discover, but he is clear about the truth.
Yeah.
He is clear, and he does state in the word, like if you take things back to the word and it's like, wait a second, this is not lining up, discern with the Spirit of God, because there are a lot of things that will come masquerading as the truth that are not. And especially when we experience a lot of life, there are a lot of lies of the enemy that he tries to teach us through our lives, that you're not enough, that you suck, that you can't do it. There's things that we quote unquote learn through our experiences. And so we're going to learn lies, we're going to learn truth through our experiences, but it is the truth of the word that is our measuring stick that we can hold that to. And when we're in relationship with God, when we have the Holy Spirit, he does convict us into the truth. And I'm not saying like conviction is like this, like conviction, like I feel like there's a lot of connotations that surround the word conviction, a lot of filters that surround the word conviction.
I like to say not condemnation, but conviction, because
Exactly.
it's two different things, and sometimes people can kind of get them mixed around, and it's like, no, because conviction propels you to the truth, condemnation pushes you further down the road of it's not going to promote you to do the right thing. Conviction it's done in grace and it's done in love, where you're allowed to feel that weight of what you did that might have been wrong, but it's drawing you closer, not further.
Conviction will draw you into your true identity, while condemnation says that what you did is wrong and that is your identity.
Yep.
And so like we want to draw people into their true identity in Christ. We want to, like, the Holy Spirit wants to draw us into the truth, into the life. And so when we lean on him and we trust what he's saying, it works out 100%. There's so much power in the stories that we tell. And being able to really help people discover what Jesus has to offer, what Jesus gives us through the word, through life with him, it's paramount that we pay attention to these things, because we are living in a time that is unlike any other. We've had a consumer culture dropped into our lap. Yeah. And we as creatives are here. And he has given us gifts for such a time as this to really reach our generation, to reach our culture. And he's given us the skill set and the tenacity, and he will give us the value to do it, because truly everything that we need is not, like, it doesn't come from us, it comes from him. And so what the world needs is not something that Jena made up, or something that Ayana made up, or that's something that you made up. It's something that the Holy Spirit has given us.
Yeah.
And so when we just say, okay, Lord, I'm going to steward this, I'm going to take what's in my hands, and I'm going to pour your heart into it. Holy Spirit, have your way. We're going to see so much value come from that. We're going to see people actually walk in a transformation because of that. And so it's really powerful. And I think we're going to have to do a part 2 of this because I didn't think so, which if we were doing a bet, I would have lost the bet because Ayana said
Cough it up.
We're going to need a part 2.
Cough it up.
High five, yeah. Y'all come help me. I might get beaten up after this. But we're definitely going to have to do part 2 because there is so much more. Y'all, you don't even know our list. We didn't even make it through half of this. So
by golly, her notes never end.
I wrote down a whole speech. So
I have a dream that
I have a very big dream. Very big dream. And that's the thing. So call to action for today. If you are a storyteller, if you are creative in any sort of way, whether you write songs, whether you tell stories, whether you make movies, whether you make clothes, I don't care what you do. All of us tell stories, whether it is through our creativity or whether it is through our relationships in our daily lives.
Yeah.
All of us have a story. It's called a testimony. And so
Amen.
Walk away today understanding that the story that you carry has been given to you by God. Whether it is a story that he's given you that is a fictional story that is like something that you cannot wait to write one day, or it is something that it is part of your story. He's given you this story for a reason, and it is meant to change the world around you. And so steward that well. Put it into work. Put it into play, because we've been born for such a time as this. We've been created, we've been crafted to give what we've been given to this broken world, to see them transformed by the power of the gospel. So take that first step.
Yeah.
Take that first step.
Tell your story. Whether it be a truth that you learned and you want to put in a fictional story, or just, your personal testimony, which is extremely powerful, which I think down the road we'll talk more about.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk all about that. Part two, we're going to talk all about our testimony, all about so many things that we didn't get to today, but
hey, this to me is just an eye-opening episode of just really being self-aware of what truths are we communicating, but also what truths are we receiving.
Yeah.
Positive or negative, life or death. What are we worshiping? Like, what are we watching that, like, what is it promoting? Again, I think it starts with that self-awareness of understanding, again, what we're receiving, but also understanding the effectiveness of when we tell stories and how that can affect people and get through the usual filter that we have in our world today, because we're very defensive in our culture. Yeah. We are very wallsy. And so telling stories is the thing that can go straight to someone's heart, that, and Jesus can meet them there.
Yeah. No, 100%. He meets them right there. He knows how to meet us where we're at. And so we love you guys. If you are watching this on YouTube, be sure to hit like and subscribe, hit that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode is coming out. And if you are listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, be sure to add our show to your liked podcast, because we would love to keep you in the conversation. We want you to join us on this adventure, because this is an adventure for us.
It is.
We are learning so much, and we believe that as creatives, we are here to change the world together for the kingdom. And so we're excited. Join us for part 2, and I'd say that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Well, bye.